Well, first of all, kind of one of the things we know about Bitcoin, right, is Bitcoin does a lot of nothing most of the time, and then it moves very suddenly. A 3-month period of chopping around is 100% normal. It doesn't matter. It's like it completely normal. So I don't think anything of what we're in right now. If you go over the 2013 pattern, right, most of the action in the 2013 bull market, right, was from October 2013 to December 2013, right? That was where, like, you could have been out of Bitcoin completely, okay, up until like September, October, and then you would have made 85% of all of Bitcoin's appreciation just by being there those 3 months.
After the spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds were approved in January, a historic feat at least a decade in the making, many investors expected that the launch of BlackRock's IBIT and other spot Bitcoin ETFs would contribute to significantly higher prices for the leading cryptocurrency. These expectations became even more frenzied and popular among cryptocurrency investors as the spot Bitcoin ETFs broke record after record, and Bitcoin hit new all-time highs in March, at least a full month before the April halving. However, despite rising demand for the funds, Bitcoin prices have remained in the same range since then, fueling speculations that BlackRock and others are purposely suppressing Bitcoin's prices so they can continue to buy at lower prices. In a recent interview with Crypto Nutshell, Fred Krueger, a prominent crypto analyst and Bitcoin maximalist, discusses his opinions on current price movements and why Bitcoin has remained in the same range for months. Unlike most, Fred is not discouraged by the situation and remains completely optimistic about the bull market and higher prices for Bitcoin before it ends in 2025. According to the Stanford University alumnus, Bitcoin's recent price is completely normal at this point in the cycle and is not indicative of any foul play by BlackRock. Fred reminds us that during previous bull markets, Bitcoin has been known to remain relatively inactive for months and then quite suddenly take off, almost without any explanation. Fred is predicting something similar in 2024. He is quite particular about the September to November window, which saw higher Bitcoin prices during previous cycles. Fred is a staunch advocate of the Bitcoin power law, a theory popularized by former physics professor Giovanni Santostasi. Giovanni's power law model suggests that Bitcoin's price movements can be more accurately predicted by examining the relationship between price and time. Using this model, Giovanni has projected that Bitcoin could reach $10 million per coin by 2045. We will now bring you clips from the interview as Fred shares his Bitcoin outlook and discusses the Bitcoin power law model. But before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
Well, first of all, kind of one of the things we know about Bitcoin, right, is Bitcoin does a lot of nothing most of the time, and then it moves very suddenly, right? So, there's that sort of meme of the guy with the stick poking Bitcoin. It's like, do something, do something, do something,
Yes.
right? And there's a little bit of that. That's always the case with Bitcoin, right? One thing I've realized is I have no opinion on what Bitcoin's going to do over the next month. I like to look at I'm like a monkey like everybody else. I click, refresh, 50 times a day. But realistically, do I have any idea what Bitcoin's going to do tomorrow? No. Do I have any idea what Bitcoin's going to do next month? No. Do I even have any idea what Bitcoin's going to do next year? I think a little bit. In the next year, probably a little bit. But over the next 2 to 4 to 5 years, yeah, I think I have a pretty good opinion there, right? And I think the power law helps quantify that a little bit, but look, we do not have magic wands as just to see where this stuff's going. We really don't. And I think as a guy who was, trading professionally for years, I will say Bitcoin is even more inscrutable than almost any other thing I've traded. It goes up exactly when you don't expect it to go up. Like when you're completely convinced it's going down, that's when it's going to go up. Or when you're completely convinced that it should be going up, then it's going to go down, or it's going to stay sideways. It's really, really hard to predict Bitcoin. And I think, part of the growth pattern here of being a Bitcoiner is understanding that. If you go over the 2013 pattern, right, most of the action in the 2013 bull market, right, was from October 2013 to December 2013. That was where, like, you could have been out of Bitcoin completely up until like September, October, and then you would have made 85% of all of Bitcoin's appreciation just by being there those 3 months. I mean, you literally could have sat out the first 3.5 years of Bitcoin. You could have. You just show up in September 2013, buy Bitcoin, and if you got out in January of 2014, you would have captured 85% of the value of Bitcoin, right? Next bull market, right? 2017. Again, and that one I remember very well, right? But like 2017, it went up, it started the year at 1,000, but then it really never got much below 6,000 for most of the year, okay? And then at the very end of the year, it suddenly broke 10,000. I want to say it was, just without looking, I want to say it was like September, October again. And then or maybe it was even later. And then finally it broke through and it hit almost 20,000. But that move from 10 to 20, actually that move was only 1 month,
Crazy.
So really, really this thing happened in just the end of 2017. And then the other big move was in 2020, early 2021, right? And again, that was really October of 2020 to January of 2021. And then and again, after those 3 months, it's over. People talk about these cycles, but it's not capturing the cycle. It's capturing the bull market during the cycle, right?
As a mathematician, Fred believes the Bitcoin power law model is the best model for evaluating Bitcoin's price and adoption history, as well as predicting how high prices will go in the coming years. Fred has an ultra-bullish price prediction for Bitcoin, both in the short and long term. He expects the leading cryptocurrency to rise to at least $700,000 within the next decade. More importantly, Fred predicts that Bitcoin will massively outperform all other asset classes, including bonds, stocks, real estate, and even the constant debasement of the US dollar. Fred's $700,000 prediction for Bitcoin is his base case. He believes the leading crypto asset could get much higher, especially as central banks continue to accrue massive debts and print money excessively to pay off those debts. During the interview, Fred also talks about the Bitcoin stock-to-flow model, a price prediction model popularized by anonymous analyst PlanB. Unlike the Bitcoin power law, Fred believes the stock-to-flow model has some shortcomings that make it a less superior model compared to the Bitcoin power law model. The mathematician explains that while the S2F model predicts exponential price increases for Bitcoin, power law predicts diminishing returns. While PlanB's model predicts Bitcoin will hit $500,000 to $1 million in 2025, Fred says prices will grow 40% yearly for a few more years, and then the gains will gradually reduce as Bitcoin becomes a bigger asset. Let's get back to the interview.
If you look at Bitcoin price on a regular basis, right, and you're graphing time in years, and you're graphing the price in dollars, right, it's really hard to see a pattern there, right? Because you look at this graph and it looks like, okay, well, we had this big run in 2017, then we crashed. Then we had this other big run in 2020, then we crashed. Now we're back. I mean, where's the pattern here? It doesn't look like there's a pattern, right? Now, if you look at it and you say, well, I'm going to put the time in years since the beginning, and then I'm going to put the log of the Bitcoin price, you see more of a pattern. Now you see it sort of arcing, and it sort of looks like, okay, it's going up according to this curve. Okay, there's sort of a curve here. Okay, that's kind of interesting. And then you say, well, wait a second. Now let's look at the time on a logarithmic basis and the price on a logarithmic basis. So you look at both on a log basis. Now the curve just jumps out at you and you see, oh, okay, this is a line, And not only it's a line, but it's very sort of spread out. There's a deviation on this line. It's very tightly bound according to this line, right? So you have, the correlation coefficient, right, which is sort of the fit of the data to the line, turns out to be like 96%. So you're like, holy, how is that possible, right? Now, if you saw this over, 1 or 2 orders of magnitude, like a difference between 1 and 100, you'd say, okay, I can kind of understand that, right? But this is data that's over 15 years and spans data that goes from 10 cents to almost $100,000. So you have 6 or 7 orders of magnitude, right, of data. Over this 1 million X difference, right, 10 to the 6, you have a very linear relationship. And you just do not see that. And I think the best way to explain what a power law means now is kind of like Bitcoin's growing at about 40% per year. That's the trend line, right? But it could go negative. It could, obviously it did in 2022, right? But, in log space, it's growing at 40%. It's growing at 40% compounded rate, right? So the slope is that. But in 10 years, it's going to slow down. It's going to only grow at 30%. In 20 years, it's going to grow at 20%, right? In 30 years, we're going to be down to 10% growth, right? So we're in this, and back in 2017, we're almost at 100% growth, right? So the growth rate is slowing down in terms of percentages. It's not slowing down massively. I mean, 40% is still enormous, right? It's an amazing growth rate, but it's not what it was in 2017. So it's sort of, think about this as sort of slowing growth, and also the volatility around the growth seems to be slowing as well. And I just want to caution people too that, look, no model is perfect, right? I'm probably a little less sanguine than Giovanni is about these models. That, I think this power law it's a great starting point to get pretty bullish on Bitcoin, but I wouldn't try to read into it too much. I think the only thing the power law should do to you is convince you that Bitcoin probably is going to go much higher in the next 10 years. And that's it. Yeah. Just stop there, Stop there. And how much higher? Well, I don't know. It could be 5x, it could be 10x, it might be more. Who knows? It might be 20x, but if something's going up 5x in the next 10 years, you want to buy that thing.
In related news, PlanB has also discussed the similarities between his Bitcoin S2F model and Giovanni's Bitcoin Power Law model. One of his latest posts on social media platform X reads, "I like and use both Power Law and S2F. Both are just curve fits. Data supports both, but that will change. Power Law shows diminishing returns. $210,000 cycle top price and bottom below $70,000. Stock to flow shows exponential returns. Over $500,000 at the top of the cycle and less than $100,000 at the lows. No need to debate, time will tell." In a follow-up tweet, PlanB added, "What I find interesting, in both models, 2013, 2017, and 2022 are clear outliers. This means the bottom of 2022 should be seen as an outlier. The other data points are much closer to S2F than Power Law. It should be noted that before PlanB's failed 100K prediction for Bitcoin in December 2021, he had 3 previous price predictions that were almost precisely accurate. In June 2021, the popular anonymous analyst tweeted that his worst-case scenario for Bitcoin would be $47,000 in August, $43,000 in September, $63,000 in October, $98,000 in November, and $135,000 in December. The first 3 predictions were quickly realized, and many believed that the world's leading crypto asset was roaring towards $100,000. According to the pseudonymous analyst, he gained more than 800,000 Twitter followers in 2 months, as many investors believed his model was foolproof. But that sentiment was greatly tested in November and December 2021. After hitting a record high of $69,000 in early November, Bitcoin prices began to tumble, dropping to $50,000 in December and the low 40s by January 2022. Which do you think is more accurate, the stock-to-flow model or the power law model? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Also, Ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.